Hi, my name is Adit. I am a teacher by profession. In this video, I'm going to be discussing on the ongoing debate about whether educational institutions should open or not. My position is very clear. I honestly believe that governments and policymakers should seriously consider or should seriously start thinking about opening schools and colleges with proper safety measures. 2020 is a year to forget. It has thrown our world into a complete mess. Ironically, it will be so hard to forget. In fact, it can never be forgotten. Educational institutions were forced to shut down abruptly. Up till now, many institutions remain shut and are open only in some countries. With 143 countrywide closures, more than 1.37 billion students have been affected worldwide, and it has impacted nearly 80% of the world's populations according to UNESCO. In addition, nearly 60.2 million teachers are no longer in the classroom. So, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, educational institutions have switched to online system, but it has not been really smooth sailing for, especially in many underdeveloped and developing countries. Sadly, in many underdeveloped countries, students are suffering massively. If the closure of school continues, there is a high risk of failing school examinations and dropouts will rise massively, as predicted by experts. So debates are still ongoing, even in the United States of America, as to whether the schools should reopen or not. The schools should reopen or not. President Donald Trump asserted that schools should reopen in the fall. He also threatened to withdraw federal funding from schools if they don't reopen. And if you look at it, I agree with him in some ways, but the problem is I'm not so sure about the safety measures which will be implemented. That is the problem. Apart from that, if all safety measures are implemented in a very proper manner, then I believe he is doing the right thing. If we look at the current situation, it is clear that the transition to online mode of teaching has led to serious setbacks in learning, as students are not really ready and flexible to embrace a system which is totally new. There's one dad from the United States, a single dad, who was quoted saying, "It's not something that I'm comfortable with, but we have to adapt to the situation." So that's what I also feel. I mean, coronavirus is not going to go away, and looking at it, we need to have this. We need to adapt to the current situation. The global impact of coronavirus is enormous, and of course, it is not easy to make a decision. But governments all around the world have to seriously look into the matter of reopening schools. That's what I really believe. Again, many teachers are desperate to go back to work, but at the same time, we as teachers are also worried about going back to the classroom without a clear plan to keep everyone safe. We want to be with our students, and now is a time where we need the full support of educational experts and policy makers. COVID-19 has thrown education all over the world into a complete mess. No institutions were prepared to face a problem as massive as this. Not even the most developed countries in the world were ready to face this problem. With schools and colleges shut, students are stuck at home with very little or no contact with friends and virtually no physical activities. Again, if we look at the situation of our students, students are caught in a limbo with no clear awareness as to what will happen next due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Many students are worried and are unsure about their future. The school I'm currently teaching was forced to shut down on 17 March along with other institutions, with the plan to reopen in the month of April, that was next month, but for obvious reason could not reopen. If we look at the larger picture, our students are in a greater predicament because of this virus, because not only their education process is disrupted, but they also face a big challenge of proving themselves in the days to come. The most affected students are sadly from the poor section of people. Not every parent is rich enough to afford a smartphone or a computer for their children. Online learning looks very challenging. Even in a developed country like the United States of America, not every home has computers or high internet speed. So families with low income are more likely to depend on smartphones for their internet access, and children in poor households may not be able to use more sophisticated learning software that requires a tablet or a computer. A teacher from the United States was quoted saying, "We as educators have to be so careful about this expectation that we go completely online," he said. "Anywhere from 10 to 25% of my students may not have internet access at home." So this is something, again, I agree with. We cannot expect all our students to respond the same like they used to in the class. Learners from underprivileged backgrounds often have no decent computers, no electricity, and poor connectivity. So for them, distant learning or online mode is simply not an option. It is a step too far for them, and we should try and understand them. We as teachers at a crossroad too. We don't know what will happen. Many teachers working in under-resourced schools are out of jobs or have been sent home without salaries. Some are struggling to meet the expectations of online classes, that also include me, leading to burnout and mental health issues. Well, there are a lot of exceptional teachers. Not all of them are ready to move their instruction to online mode, because the problem is not all teachers are tech savvy, let alone students. Some teachers are finding difficulties in handling online tools, maybe kind of like a Zoom meeting or Google Classroom, Google Hangouts, and many learning tools. The problem is not many teachers are used to this online mode of education. They are so used to this classroom mode. COVID-19 has also shown us the unpreparedness and inflexibility of our educational system very clearly. Both students and teachers are not ready. If we look at it honestly, we're not really ready to fully embrace the online system of education. But there's a big gap between virtual learning and actual learning. In India, if we look at a country like India, over 32 crore students have been hit by COVID-19 pandemic as schools and colleges are shut, according to UNESCO. Education systems responded, so with distant learning solutions, all of which again have offered less or more imperfect substitutes for classroom instruction. There are so many virtual learning tools available, but not everyone is fortunate enough to access it. Not all students and teachers have access to adequate internet connection, equipment, skills, and working conditions to take advantage of all these platforms available. In a country like India, due to poor network connectivity, students from poor backgrounds have given up their studies, which is really sad. The problem is many parents cannot afford even a smartphone, let alone buying a phone for their children. So, the director Henrietta Fore was quoted saying, "Under the shadow of COVID-19, the lives of millions of children have temporarily shrunk to just their homes and their screens. We must help them navigate this new reality." This is the reality of our situation now, the condition of our students. A girl in India, a girl in class 9, allegedly committed suicide, and the problem was her parents could not afford to buy her a smartphone to attend online classes. So she was so scared, and maybe because of this immense pressure, she was not able to cope it, and she committed suicide, which was again something which is so sad. Some students have no other option than to sit on the rooftop or climb trees to catch internet. In a household, for example, of more than 4 children, only one smartphone is used for online classes, which is absolutely a nightmare for them. So, as a teacher, I know the timing, the routine of how online classes are carried out. So, in a household of more than 4 children, they have to attend online classes according to their timing. So, when their timing clash, it becomes difficult for them. So, one has to miss out, and when attendance are being taken, it becomes a big problem for them. So, this is the problem of our students. Again, many students don't even have smartphones in India or laptops to attend online classes or get work on WhatsApp. So in some cases, many schools haven't even figured out things yet. These are some of the few isolated struggles by students to attend online classes. So if educational institutions remain shut, the enrollment number of students will drop tremendously, as many students cannot afford to have a gadget of their own. Majority of the countries are looking at ways to reopen educational institutions, which I really believe is the only logical solution now. Like other sectors, educational institutions cannot be kept shut, because the fact of the matter is coronavirus is not going away, and the right thing to do now is find a way and live with it. Because to lock inside our homes and wait for the virus to disappear is not going to work anymore. I have my students who will often send me messages or call me to inquire about the reopening of schools, and I could see how much they are missing their schools and the classroom environment. So as much as I want to provide quality education through online mode, it is frustrating at times because of the inability to reach out to some of my students due to poor network connectivity, and obviously we cannot blame them. We have to find a solution, another option, because for some students, this online system is not going to work. The fact of the matter is we should start looking at ways on how to safely return back to schools by implementing safety measures rather than locked inside our homes. With the opening of educational institutions, we need to have a look at 2 factors, because nearly 1/3 of the total number of students stay in boarding schools. They'll be back in hostels once schools and colleges reopen. Students and teachers need the support of all like-minded people to to overcome challenges inflicted by COVID-19 pandemic. We need the support of educational experts and policymakers who are really serious about the situation of the closure of educational institutions. We also need the support of experts from community health and infectious diseases to work together. On April 8, 2020, Wuhan lifted its strict lockdown of more than 11 million people. So after that, senior students were back to prepare for the national college entrance exam. And students were asked to maintain social distance, and seating arrangements were also revamped. And I was very interested to look into how they were or how they planned it out. And looking at it, it was really encouraging, and that is something which we can also take example from. I'm not saying that it's really perfect, but we can take examples from from them also. For example, like new seating arrangement can be made, but in a school overcrowded with students, new arrangement will not be able to fit in all the students together. So the point is, students don't have to attend classes every day. For example, in a class where there are 60 students, we can limit the number of students attending classes. As for teachers, it is our job, and it is only imperative that we continue doing the same. But again, it is without a doubt a daunting task for the teachers as well, and it makes us wonder as to how we will possibly avoid catching COVID-19 in a classroom packed with students, because their personal hygiene skills are also still evolving, and many students do not know the safety measures. But with proper safety measures, maybe we can prevent and control the spread of COVID-19. Children need face-to-face learning. Virtual learning, no matter how much we try, we will not be able to effectively instruct them or teach them. We need to create a safe environment for our children. So parents and students are left in the dark, because almost all other places have opened up, but educational institutions are still closed. So if we look at it again, in the long run, students need to be given remedial classes which will help them get back to classroom environment and also to complete their syllabus. We as teachers are pivotal in talking to students about COVID-19. Before schools reopen, teachers should be well aware about accurate information and scientific facts about coronavirus. This will immensely help in reducing fears and anxieties among our students. UNICEF has also mentioned some simple but effective tips to prevent and control the spread of COVID-19, like focusing on good health behaviors such as covering coughs and sneezes with the elbow and washing our hands continuously, regularly. So this is it. And my point is, we should start looking at ways on how to deal with the problem of this COVID-19, because it is not going away anytime soon, and we have to adapt and try a solution rather than just locked up inside our homes. So this is it, and thank you so much for listening.